We're going to start off our project with a slip knot. How I do my slip knots. Twice around the index finger, back front, back over the front, now back front, back over front and off the finger, pull tight, put your hook in, close it to your hook, make sure it's not too tight. First, we want to chain 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For the entire ear warmer, we're going to be using the moss stitch. So, to do our moss stitch, you need a multiple of 2 plus 1. So I chained 19. Multiple of 2 would be my 18 chains I'm going to use. Plus 1 makes the 19. This first stitch, or the first chain that we made, we skip that first chain and we go into the second one with a slip stitch. Make sure it's not going to be a very tight slip stitch because you are going to need to go back into it when you come back. And for those of you who have a trouble knowing what stitch you need to go back into, once you make your first slip stitch, you can go ahead and just put a stitch marker in that stitch, and you'll know where you need to make your final stitch in row 2 and beyond. So, first stitch is a slip stitch. Second stitch is going to be a half double crochet. So you yarn over into the next chain, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Then you just repeat that. And if you need to make your slip stitches a little looser, you might want to give yourself a little bit of a bigger loop. Not too big, but a little bit of a bigger loop. Into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through the loop on your hook. Next one will be a half double. Slip stitch, half double, slip stitch, half double, and you just keep doing those 2 stitches until you reach your final chain in the row. And at the end you should have 18 stitches. You always end on a half double crochet so long as you chained evenly and then added 1 more. Now at the end of your row where you're half double, chain 1, turn your work. It might be a little hard to tell from the back side where you need to go, so if you need to look, turn your chain so you can see those stitches from the top so you know where you need to go. So we always skip that first stitch because that's our turning chain. So we'll need to go into this one. So skip this one, go into this one, and we're going to go into that with a slip stitch. And if you need to place a stitch marker so you know where to connect on your next row, go ahead and put a stitch marker in that stitch. Next stitch, if you have trouble, go ahead and turn it. It's going to be right there. Half double. So the key is, this is a half double crochet from the previous round right here. So you want to go into it with a slip stitch. This right here is a slip stitch from the previous row. You want to go into it with a half double crochet. They alternate on top of each other. Slip stitch, double. So as long as you chained evenly, you'll begin the row with a slip stitch and end the row with a half double crochet. You get to the end, and that's where you're going to want to put your final half double crochet. Just make sure you're not doing your stitches too tight also, because it might be hard to get under. So this is what it should look like so far. It doesn't look like a whole lot of anything now, but once it gets longer, it's going to be quite beautiful. So, next row, we're going to chain one, turn our work, and you just want to keep going, slip stitch, half double crochet, slip stitch, half double crochet. I'm going to go ahead and do this for, I'd say about 10 rows or so, and I'll come back and show you what it's supposed to be looking like. So I've done a couple more rows, and this is what it looks like so far. It comes out really pretty. It's a really cool stitch to use for this ear warmer. So what you're going to do is you're going to continue making this until it reaches the circumference of your head all the way around. When this gets long enough for me, I'll try it on my head and I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. I'm finished with the length of what the ear warmer will be. I tugged on it just a little bit, just to make it a little stretched out. Not too much, just a little bit. And it measured at about 20 inches long. So I'm going to try it on and show you about how it needs to fit. Our final row is going to be one row of slip stitches all the way across. Take the sides, fold them into the center, flatten it out. There should be a little bit of space between them, and then fold it in this direction. And the side where you're ending should be on the bottom right here. And we're going to go ahead and continue by chaining 4. I think I already have one there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want to connect it to the top side of here. So I'm just going to go underneath at the very top. And I'm going to slip stitch it right to there. Chain 4. And what we're going to do is we're connecting chain 4s in a zigzag pattern all the way down. So we went straight across. Now we're going to come down. So go down a few rows. It doesn't matter too much where. Just go down a few rows and go ahead and slip stitch it to the row. Chain 4. I'll tell you why we do this in a second. And we went across and then we went down, so let's go ahead and go a couple rows down on this side. About right here. Go from underneath. This might be kind of a challenge. If it's too much of a challenge, I do apologize, but you'll get the hang of it, and I'll show you why in a sec that I like to do it this way. Get it in there. There we go. Chain 4. Go down a few rows, about right here. Chain 4. And connect, and just keep doing that, zigzagging your way to the bottom. You should have zigzags all the way down. I started at one corner, connected to the other top corner because I wanted a straight line across the top. Zigzagged my way down, just skip a couple rows, it doesn't really matter how many you do. And then I made a straight line also across the bottom from one corner to the next. The reason behind that is, say if we're making this bow in the middle, look how big of a chunk this ends up being. And that's going to be sitting on your forehead. It's not going to be very comfortable, so I like to do it this way. So it'll break down, pinch in the center, bring the sides up, and it's just going to be this little tiny little area that we have to get around instead of this whole big fat chunk. So it'll be much more comfortable on your forehead. It'll look better. Give yourself about 6 inches of sewing. Cut the yarn. Pull that through. And what I like to do with the two ends is I like to tie a knot around the center. Just cinch it in a bit. And to give it that really cute bow look, pinch the middle part. You can bring the sides up, and it gives it that really cute bow look to it. There we go. So now I'm going to sew these in, and then we'll get started on the little band that goes around the center. Last step in finishing off the ear warmer is I'm going to go ahead and make a slip knot, put it on my hook. Chain 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to do one single crochet in every stitch across, skipping the first chain. So we go into the second chain from the hook, go in with a single crochet, and in each across, which is going to give us 4 single crochet stitches across. Chain 1, turn. You're just going to want to do 4 across for about 5 rows. And I will show you what to do after that. So you just want to make this longer, probably about 5 to 7 rows, depending on how tight your stitching is. This is going to be the little band that goes around the middle section of the ear warmer. So I'm probably going to do 6 rows and see from there. So I've got 6 rows. I'm going to go ahead and pull on it to stretch it out a bit. Go underneath the middle section. kind of tightly pull it around that bow, and if the sides meet, that should be long enough, and this is going to be good. So I'm going to give myself some sewing room in that. Pull that through. And we're just going to sew this on, and then we'll be done. But you want to make sure that you put it in the front and sew it to the back. Whichever way you want your ear warmer to be facing, however it looks, whether it be this side or this side, make sure it goes in the front. For those of you who have a rough time threading yarn needles, just lay it across, pinch down on it, slide your needle out, take the opposite end, and kind of do a sawing motion as you push down, and it should get on there fairly easily. Now I'm going to flip my ear warmer inside out. Put it underneath, so or inside out, so that will be covering the front side. And you just want to carefully sew the two ends together. Flip it back on its correct side, and you're done.